You're listening to the Digital Deep Dive, where we tackle the newest trends, strategies, and pain points shaping growth across the digital landscape. From Amazon and D2C to international expansion, join our host and e-commerce leaders across multiple industries for in-depth discussions on how to maximize your brands in the digital arena. Now, here's your host, Aaron Conant.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Conant, and today, Steven Moy is on. We met through a webinar, I don't know, maybe a month ago or so. We also have a bunch of, similar friends in that work. He actually does a podcast with Sean Halter. I think a lot of people out there know him. But anyways, the topic for today that we want to jump into is kind of addressing the younger generation. And, just kind of picking that apart as a whole. But Steven, I'll kick it over to you. If you want to do an intro on yourself,
yeah, sure.
Barbarian, that'd be awesome. And some of the things you guys are doing there, and we'll just jump into the conversation. Sound good?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate the time. And yeah, I'm Steven Moy, been working for many, over 3 decades. So somewhat relevant to
So there's people actually listening today who weren't born when you started.
Exactly. So, I would make it more, relevant to all the conversation we'll be having in the world of digital marketing and, digital commerce. I started a while ago, back in the 87, when I first started working in the software industry, back then before PC, before Mac, when I first started. So if anybody remember WAN computer and Prime computer, I was there working back then. And I still remember 1 megabyte is a whole room in the late 80s, talking about hardware. So there are a lot of technological advancement that we have benefit from today. But long story short, first 10 years of my career, I would say I was a software engineer. I did a lot of string wrap, commercial software, design database software, and all the way through before I entered the consultancy and marketing world. And I built credit card transaction, back in the days, 1997, for a publishing company. And then I enter and change my life and become my career shifted because of I joined Sapiens back then before the dot-com bubble bursted. Back then, anybody remember the dot-com year right around the year 2000, Y2K. I started building e-commerce solution as part of a Sapien team, and then I, after the dot-com bursted, I went on did some consultancy because that was the time I got my MBA, and I said, oh, maybe I should do something differently than building e-commerce site. And I joined a supply chain consultancy, and then that gave me another foundation. Not only I understand inventory management, also fulfillment. So I'm quite familiar with all the e-commerce back-end operation from logistics, drop shipping. Fast forward 2005, the co-founders from Sapiens called me, say, hey, Steven, Moy, and I'm the only Moy in my last name, Moy, for 4,000 people. Hey, we got to jump into digital marketing or interactive marketing back then. You remember 2005. And I returned to Sapien and started working with clients, very complicated. That was probably first and second wave of changes. You remember back then, iPhone was introduced, 2007. It changed the world computing, right? Back then was only, we still talking about mobile commerce, but nothing really worked until, iPhone showed up. I was fortunate through Sapient. I worked with a lot of, I would say, disrupted brands back then, like the Geico and Progressive disrupted the insurance company. So all the insurance company, believe it or not, was my client at one point. We built a direct-to-consumer selling auto and home insurance for Liberty Mutual, the Travelers, the Hard Thought. When I talk about disruption, sometimes it's a business model disruption. And then iPhone came along. Stable was my client, and then I was debating with them, talking about what is the iPhone thing, and now you have brick and mortar. But of course, this is so long ago. But I enjoyed my time at Sapien, and my career. I became a managing director and a vice president to manage a whole region in New England. So I built working with a lot of digital first brand, building e-commerce solution, Dunkin' Donut digital menu board back then, dropping behind the counter, a lot of things like from Rulala agency or Riker for Rulala, you remember that brand, to Victorox, which is Swiss Army. We put them on a digital e-commerce platform, SAP Hybrid. So also 2012 shifted, and I decided to leave Sapien and join Dentsu Isobar, which is the Japanese holding company, the digital agency. Spent 4 years there. I was helping them to think through the corporate strategy. How do we create an agency can harness creativity and technology? Kind of sound familiar, right? And then I helped launch e-commerce practice and, working on a lot of, household brand. We built the first mobile app for McDonald's. We were brought in Isobar, the design challenge, right? 6 months. You need to build a mobile app that 1 billion people using every day.
Yeah.
Think about that. So, and then fast forward, that I became the CEO for Isobar UK after I assisted and also shaped the narrative for Isobar. We acquired 2 e-commerce agencies, and one in UK called Ecomera and one in truly in China called Bluecom. My strategy was wipe out all the talent outside US, because those agencies were the white labeling for my competitors, like the Razor Fish and everybody. So we're talking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then that made me the Isobar CEO. And one of the key objectives was, how do you take Isobar UK, a creative agency, and an e-commerce agency, and put them together? Because they said, oh, you were Sapien Nitro. You must know something about it. Of course I did. That was a time, interestingly enough, right before Brexit. So I was living in London, and then Brexit hit, and then Brexit really changed a lot. And then I said, you know what, I need to come back to US and got once in a lifetime opportunity, work for Bob Greenberg at RGA. And I was their first US Chief Technology Officer for RGA, which is a very iconic digital agency for over 40 years. And I spent 2.5 years there when Bob announced retirement in 2018 and 2019, and then I got recruited by Cheryl Worldwide, which is number 10 holding company in the world, who acquired Barbarian 10 years ago, and they hired me as the CEO to reboot Barbarian. Barbarian, a little bit, if people are familiar with Barbarian, it's over 20 years old, came up from Boston. I competed with them when I was a Sapien, and we were known for because a bunch of marketing with misfit couldn't find a job. So they decided, you know what, I'm going to create my own agency called Barbarian, because we have no rules, we're brave, let's take it on. So ever since, if you remember 2003, Barbarian created Burger King Subservient Chicken Campaign, the website that the chicken dance with hundreds of moves, that done by Barbarian back then. And Barbarian also 2013, 10 years ago, won the first ever Grand Prix at Cannes Lions for innovation. That was the first time they issued an innovation Lions, and all the way up to I took over about 5 years ago. We did a lot of interesting work, and through this conversation, you will hopefully get a sense about how I designed Barbarian and how we want to help our client create the future faster. Sorry, a longer introduction, but quiet because
I love people, and I love hearing people's stories and how they get, to where they're at. And it's never a straight path, right? It's very interesting. If you think about, you can market all day, every day, but if you don't have that supply chain logistics and product, who cares? You're not selling anything, right?
Software engineering background, Never would have thought. Now I'm running a digital creative agency. And kind of never would have thought the marketing tech world, the whole marketing advertising is integrated, or intertwined with technology and data.
It's crazy.
AI and everything we talk about recently.
So, when we were chatting, just over the past couple of weeks, we were talking a little bit around, hey, what are these new things? What are the things that you're looking at and focusing on, new trends? And one of those things that came up was marketing to the younger generation, right? And I mean, that just was something that I think a lot of people are thinking about, but it's, the other thing we talked about was how complicated things have gotten for digital marketers.
Yes.
And so they're over here trying to figure all this stuff out, and there's a ton of tech and they're being inundated all the time. And yet there's still this strategic piece of, hey, we can't blanket market to everyone. And so maybe this is the first of a couple podcasts. I don't know. But like, I'd love to hear your thoughts around when you engage with a brand and when you're thinking about targeting a younger audience.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we touched on a little bit earlier on the U.S. demographic. Let's talk about U.S., right? The rest of the world's similar representation. I would say roughly half of our generation is under 30 years old right now. So that's why you see a majority of the rise of the Gen Z and also the Gen Alpha, or even much more early 20s or even, in the late teens. And their consumption model and consumer behavior truly different. They are truly digital first, because think about when they were born, 30 years ago, when they first started working in the 80s, where internet available. When we first started, there was no internet. So they are truly digital native, even more so than the millennials. And, one thing we find out when we work with our client really depends on what product, what kind of audience they want to reach. You still have a lot of product and services targeting the baby boomer or the Gen X, because they potentially have more, bigger wallet. They purchase behavior a little bit different. That's all you see. Still a lot of different consumption model, TV commercial, nothing wrong. It still should be in the mix, right? Broadcast TV, last time we worked with Roku about 2 years ago, they shared with me the statistics. They said the primetime viewership today, so all this primetime TV you're watching, live broadcast, guess what's the median age? 55.
35. What's that?
55.
55.
Yeah, so that's why you see there are still a very powerful or effective communication vessel or platform is TV. And then COVID shifted a little bit because all the streaming platforms. So you still have the young audience with kind of the streaming. Let's talk about the sequential or not live broadcast or all the other. So you still have a mode of people consuming content that way. But in the younger generation, a couple of things that are different than millennials, right? You talk about just the size of the population. First, is the difference between self-worth. So we did a lot of study because a lot of clients working with us, right? We're constantly doing survey, we do focus group or digital community or all kinds of technique we apply to it. There are certain nuances between the millennial and Gen Y. First of all, it's about self-worth. And when I say self-worth, it's there are new way of thinking about consumerization, at least in the above 30. At that point, a lot of people are self-worth. You see more and more people wearing a luxury brand, like showing the logo. You see a lot of self-worth, focusing on how much they're worth. That was a phenomenon. But in the younger generation, of course, roughly speaking, under 30 years old, they are talking about no, because they brought up a little bit differently. They care about the world. So they focus is a little bit different. It's not about self-worth. It's more about truly behind, I want to help. I want, now I understand I'm in the workforce. Now I have the empathy, the century for them is really high. That's why you see a lot of focus on sustainability, diversity, DEI, sustainability, economic fit. So you see the shift a little bit, that what they value is different. Consumption mode totally, right? Scott Galloway, NYU professor, a friend of mine, he recently kept talking about the attention economy, which is started a long time ago. But truly, I think attention economy is the right describe of the world we're living in today. Let me explain. We are taught by there's so much digital enabled touch point from TikTok to Instagram. I'm talking about like the amount of content we have to consume. If you're a brand, try to fight for the attention. We are really trained, especially by TikTok, under a second. Because you would statistically, based on the analytics, like roughly a second, you would flip, you would change. So our attention span is a second. Versus, remember back then, well, at least when I grew up, like watching a TV commercial, 30 minutes, 30-second spot. You spend 30 seconds to watch it. So 30 seconds at 8 is like 3x, 3 to 4x I'm talking about. So truly, the attention is so we got distracted all the time. So the attention economy really need us to help the brand to create very, very, addictive content. Like you need to differentiate your brand, your value proposition to them, your purpose to them within under 8 seconds. But that's the key challenge today for a lot of marketers, right? How you reach those audience. And based on eMarketer, recent study, they talk about like under the 30 years old, over 40% today in US, close to 40%, 45% first touch point is social media. So meaning Instagram, and you can count the most popular one, Instagram and TikTok. And then that group, the younger group, they spend at least 90 minutes to couple hours consuming content. So all of a sudden you have a high velocity content, different than the old school production where we create content for marketing, right? Typically you have like a marketing campaign. Talk about the velocity. Used to be like 10-po event, you have a few months, right? Come up with the idea, you cast the production team, casting, go shoot it, produce, right? Today, that's a new expectation, customer expectation for brand. If you want to interact with me on those social platforms, at least the younger audiences, I want to see content every day.
How do brands create that much content? That's, I think, a major struggle.
Yes.
It's because there is that demand, and yet it costs a lot. It takes a lot, right? And yeah, I don't know. It's one of the number one things I get asked about is how do I create more content, but not have to like break the bank on it.
So the whole production process from advertising since COVID, right? When we cover a little bit and the rise of TikTok right at the same time coming in, changed a lot. As I mentioned, the cycle used to be like months, weeks, now it's days. And meaning, so now we talk about like applying software philosophy. That's why I always believe all brands should be learning from the big tech company, the top 10 brand in the world. If you talk about 30 years ago when I first started, majority like GM, those guys, right? Johnson. Today, you and I know half of them are tech company. Tesla, Amazon, Apple, Google, right? You can keep going. Facebook and, even Netflix, at one point you can consider their top 10 brand in the world. Johnson & Johnson still around. So that type of brand building completely different. And also tech company, really, the reason they keep on being more resilient, I've been, observing them and studying them, because one of my talk in Asia, we talk about every brand should be a tech company. They are very good. If you peel off everything, they are very good direct to consumer company. Right? They directly talking to you. Like even Tesla, no dealership. They know your data. Right? That's another thing we should learn. That's why we talk about Web3. Remember last time we did a webinar? I mean, at least my opinion, recommending my client. Think about Web3 is at least one aspect is about decentralization of your customer data. Now you can get some of your customer data out of the big platforms out there. Right? You think about tech company, Amazon Prime, you know how much data they know us. They know
right.
Right. So
they're shipping stuff before you've ordered it. That's exactly. How.
So like, when you go back to the velocity, so right now we even have as an agency, we should have to change the creative process. So long story is taking that agility of soft tech company applied to creative process now. So you probably just heard about, how you do more test and learn, how you become more agile in the creative world. So that's first thing we have to set up is that. Second, all the way to your insight brief, we do, customer insight brief and then the creative brief. You have to factor in all this high velocity nature of the content, meaning you have to come up with a creative or, the organizing idea that can support daily, hourly, and also longer, like big tempo event like Mother Day, right? Those are, so in that thinking, all the way up front in the creative process, already you have to factor in. And for content creation, we, at least at Barbarian, we call atomic content. You cannot think linearly. I need to do a TV commercial. So I have to take that creative idea all the way there. You need to think about where your audiences are, right? Like, let's assume you're targeting Gen Z. Let's say half of them, as I said, based on statistics from TikTok and Instagram. So a short form content. So your idea, how you translate into short form content, simple produce that kind of objective or achieving the objectives important. And then you have shorter term video on maybe YouTube, maybe on your website, right? You maybe more than 30 seconds, you can do that to all the way to TV or, voice and sound, whatever you need to produce. So that process has been disrupted and reconfigured, I would say. And also, that's a new creator economy, right? This is something we learned, adopted, and also a lot of brands on my client also started doing it, either in-house or hiring so-called creator, influencer, marketing side. So basically, the world is a little bit different. To what we believe used to producing a TV commercial costs a lot of money, right? Long form content months. Now the creator economy that we have tried at Barbarian, we have an internship program. We hire the Gen Z, either in college, they are like 21, 22. They are the target audience. What you need to do is when you create, you have a client brief, and then you with the creative team, you're working with them. You give them a creative brief. Sometimes very interesting. You tell them, give them enough creativity and room. Take your iPhone or Samsung phone, go shoot a video format. They came back with the content. A lot of times spot on. So there's a new form of content creation in high velocity sense, and also in with a different lenses from the two. That's what the creator very important in the world is. People associate them. They want someone look like me, so the younger audience want someone similar to them, understand Taylor Swift and all the other things that important to them, and then with that lens creating the content. Not like that's a lot. To be honest with you, a lot of brands struggling today. We got a lot of. I don't want to offend anybody, but right now a lot of a C-suite level, either agency or at brand level, they are not the 21 years old, so they might look at the brand different.
Well, that's honestly, it's compounding, right? When not only are they not the target, but they're not actively involved in it, and things have changed so much over the past few years. Everything from the digital marketing, the platforms, the content that you need, the people that are creating it, that they're the C-suite, they're running the company. They don't have, the only way to learn this is to live in it and be immersed in it or have grown up in it, which they did not. And so they don't have the time to fully immerse themselves. And so they're in this weird spot where they have to completely trust what's going on. And inherently that could also, they're thinking in the back of it, well, then do I not know what's going on? Do I appear like I don't know what's going on? And that's not a good image for an executive.
Think about the paradigm shift, right? Let's talk about it, right? Before, like you want product review or customer reviews, used to be before TikTok or Instagram, you go to Amazon and Google, right? And Best Buy, you probably get a lot of content if you're looking at electronic, or go to Whole Foods, right? Some owned media owned by the brand, you kind of can aggregate, get a sense of, is that milk really that good, right? Kind of like today, I think an even split. Google search, Amazon reviews are very important. People buy a lot of stuff from Amazon, and TikTok now. I heard more and more people go online. Like now, the usual suspect would be skincare, right? Like the how-to, different people using it, to fashion brand. Sean Halter, our common friend, talk about he was watching even like a locksmith. Someone would rate locksmith. So much new content. So even customer review, as one of the key touch point about getting feedback, right, from your customer, is hosted in the digital media, social media format in a more entertainment way. One thing about TikTok is music, movement, entertainment, because very addictive content, right? The algorithm also play to the favorite. So you have to change your customer review. Instead of doing it's a net score, it used to be do that kind of review, to more having influencer reviewing your product and then owning the conversation. So that's one thing shift. And then if that's the case, one of the starting point about customer review on TikTok, how you create content for your brand and lead them into the rest of the ecosystem. Because not everybody want to do transaction on TikTok, right? Or mostly want to redirect to my retail partner if I'm selling fast moving consumer good, right? I'll go to my retail partner that we have a relationship with. How you bring them into that ecosystem without friction, cohesive customer experience, get back to the old days every time. That is the new world order customer experience now. than before, right? It used to be keyword search on Google, you click on a link, go to your website, right? That. So it's a little bit that's a new customer journey with a lot of complexity. But you still see a lot of brand winning right now in that company because they understand they have a direct-to-consumer mindset. I always touch on it, meaning they're obsessed about how you're having that relationship, getting the feedback loop, and then understand the data and targeting them. So you see still a lot of big household brand pivoting well, right? Nike, right? They are king, You still see a lot of them, but still many people struggling. So yeah, you have a problem, right? Your younger demographic, the value system completely different. They expect different media consumption too. How you bring me into your ecosystem, and then they look at everything a little different than what you used to know the millennials. I mean, that's 10 years ago. I
mean, it just gets harder and harder, right, for the digital org. It just does. I mean, and things are moving faster than ever. AI is stepping in.
Right.
And there's some great platforms that you talk about, like reviews. There's some really cool programs that the AI aggregation of reviews. So you can it can produce then a sentiment around it, both yours, the other products in your category, competition, and dump back all that feedback. But that's awesome. But it also then prompts another round of content to be created.
Yes.
And
yeah, I think AI will help. I mean, it's not solving all the problems. Just like we need to teach AI. AI need data, right? Data is a lot of behavioral data from us, and you have more functional and emotional. Like kind of understand that's why we behave certain way, and understand functionally, meaning what we did. Those kind of data need to fit into it. So it's not like all the, I still remember earlier this year, someone, I was on LinkedIn, or someone started interviewing with me, it's the future of creative agency or AI, when they create it. I don't believe so. So like, for example, the way even for a creative agency, AI, generative AI should help a creative process. Like not too long ago, a couple of months ago, we have a very fast turnaround pitch, right? We got the brief came in from the client, the RFP, and then we only have 5 days to come up with creative. What we've done is we use some of the open, AI solution. With enough our input, they generate enough digital assets for us to work on. So we use it that way. Our strategy team also use, ChatGPT, like for initial research, because quite surprisingly good, like kind of like a next generation encyclopedia. Give a lot of data element you never think it. And I think, further down the road, we touched on it last webinar, I think there is a data enrichment, I think perfect for AI. You capture all this raw data. We talk about data, right? I have my own data now. Walmart has my data. I got third-party data. I got media data. I got all this data. I think that AI is very good at least one application, stitch them together. Because even what will help, right? How will you know this is the same Steven Moy bought something in Asia, come back here, bought something in Madison Avenue, and call your call center, right? If you're not stitch the data together, we got a lot of application earlier, a few years ago, about AI is about, using for chat, like, helping, the CSR to answer question more effectively, efficiently, looking for helpful answers. I think that's an opportunity to really do data enrichment, really stitching them together, and then that will power other tools you can use. There are a lot of automation, like content velocity. We talk about it. We're not there yet. There's a lot of ethical, and because like translating content, AI is very good, right? I'm not suggesting you change Steven to a different race. No, but like change the color on my t-shirt when I'm selling t-shirt. You know what I mean? Right. So like cars, right? A lot of, metropolitan area, that's why e-commerce is so popular. When you go on shopping cart, you may not have all the inventory. What if I want to see the new Mercedes green, whatever that color with this metallic? You cannot expect everybody to have that kind of inventory for you. Take a look at it. So AI could help, like in that situation, from a product discovery consideration, and also purchase. Right? Maybe AI can help you get more data and personalizing the product for you. So I'm talking about light customization, not like. But also, I think the next gen, further down the road, you truly want to target any audience. I mentioned last time to you, I think it will replace the long time frame focus group. Right now, you can really digital community not only have live interaction,
Right.
and AI can kind of predict. Oh wow, these group of people we're talking about, they need a flip phone. I'm making it up. Like they need an iPad and phone, right? So that will maybe inform your market R&D or business R&D or product R&D for like how you identify unmet customer needs. Go back to the root. So a lot of interesting we can do.
So do you think like the younger generation is going to want that more and more and just expect it? Because for me, I'm used to a different pace of stuff, right? Mid 40s, and it's just like, hey, in my back of my mind, even though it doesn't have to be true, it takes a long time for product development. It takes a long time for R&D. The process you're talking about for, generating the content for marketing campaigns. If it takes a while, it doesn't really matter for me as a customer, right? But as we're talking about, the Gen Z and now going to be even younger, I don't know when Gen Z specifically ends, then they're going to want that touch, right? They're going to want you to intimately understand them, but only with the data they're giving you specifically.
Right. No, totally. Because that's another dynamic about the younger. I'm talking about younger than millennial. It's the individuality is something they call like. You see it. They want to stand out in an authentic way. So that's why you see more and more like really the younger generation bolder color. I would attribute this to also supporting the success of Barbie, because people like don't mind wearing pink. All of a sudden, right? They want to stand out. So you really have to understand that dynamic when you building a brand relationship with them. I think they will welcome AI. You using AI in the right way. Certain things AI could help, right? Really looking for clues, identify unmet needs, or really helping sustainability. They care a lot of sustainability, those. So you have to find the right application. And I was just reading the report my team generated. Every quarter we generate reports. So we're working on a Gen Z, Gen Alpha report. Because the speed, they are so used to the speed. There was some quote my team pulled out. They were saying someone launched a business on TikTok in the morning with a business idea. By the end of the day, you got enough people joining him or her. Like he got a business model up and running. They've got so used to that speed. It's really changing a lot. I think they will welcome AI as long as you apply the right way. I think that's a lot. Like if they care about carbon footprint, jury, right? Autonomous car, right? Eventually we figured out, that will help a lot, right? The electric car, right? I'm talking about and then one point I still remember, I was working 2018 talking to rental car company. They were investing before COVID happened. The autonomous car and electric car. Can you imagine they can compete with airline now? Because I can check into a car, harbor sleeping, people just sleep from New York. 20 hours later, I woke up in San Francisco. I don't even have to fly, right? If you think about it. But those technology require AI to guide it, right? So you will see more than logistic management could be another route they talk about. So, logistic moving material around and things like that. So I would see, maybe I'm a get the glass half full kind of guy. I think the younger generation also have like an optimism to it, but they have to believe that your brand can deliver those value to them. So I think having AI with the right application could be interesting. I'm looking forward to see what would be good. Maybe we should do another one later this year to see which brands stand out.
Yes, early. Yeah. Well, we'll wait till after Q4 and then we'll see who actually the winners are based on how much product was returned at the end. I'm always fascinated at the adoption of AI because, if you think back to the metaverse, right? And there's always this hesitancy around the metaverse.
Yes.
And, I did a couple podcasts on it. Obviously we did a bunch of webinars. There's a lot of interest, but it was one of those things that wasn't required, wasn't directly applicable to business. And it wasn't something if you didn't do, somebody else was going to beat you to it and then be a huge winner. But I think with AI, it's a whole different ball game. And, I don't think it requires brands to build their own AI, but it requires brands to understand the tool sets that are out there that are using AI and utilizing them, or you'll get left behind.
Yeah,
it's just
thing
changing
about metaverse, right? It's one of the platform or application, powered by blockchain, Web3 phenomena. In that kind of digital, I think I touched on a little bit, a digital enabled space. I think that, to your point, I have many clients having difficulty because the use case doesn't really work for them, right? Because the model is, if I do target an older audience or do a broadcast TV market to them, they will go to the store, my store or my retail partner, and then that's the model. And then the more digital centric will be today, TikTok, you click, you want to buy, and now go into, they do their own investigation and find one of your digital touch point and transact it. The metaverse, you touch on it, I see value for many aspects. I talk about omniverse, which is a new dimension of your customer journey, right? Basically, I'll do digital online, I'll go to a physical store, and then I may enter the metaverse for a use case that is valuable to me. Vice versa, I talk about, like, my team did a study. For me, it's over 1 billion people, 1.6 billion people around the world considered with physical constraint, like handicap, including autism. Mm-hmm. Then I can understand why there could be many touch points in the digital enabled spaces first, which is the metaverse, right? Because if someone without, they may not have the ability with arms and legs, right? But in that, virtual digital enabled world, they have a little bit more freedom. That makes sense, right? That makes sense. For people, maybe autism, this is the other way for them to interact with their friends or peers, but that makes sense. So you really have to go back to the root, what we talk about. If you want to target young audience, you really have to go deep, like understand the emotional need and functional need or older audience, the same way for metaverse, any new spaces. Why? So I have 3 golden rules, my opinion. If you want any touch point, including any audience, any touch point, I always advise my clients 3 things, right? They have to happen at the same time. Without one, it defeats the trifecta, the value proposition. One, you have to have value to your target audience. Gotta add value. If not, they will not interact with you. It doesn't matter metaverse or the younger audience or older audience in what medium. You have to have that in, adding value to them. So value added, very important. Second, gotta be differentiated for your brand, because we are so, we're trained to become so distracted, right? And because you and I can create a Lexus skill, I think I use it right. Doesn't mean we stand up. We all have that technology, or you and I can launch a TikTok channel. No one will come. Gotta be differentiated in a way why you show up there and then meeting your audience. And also, it's good for your brand. Like, for example, I always talk about, I can work with Sean to create our own sneakers and go on Alibaba Singles Day, right? The biggest e-commerce day, 40 billion transaction. I can sell it, right, to talk about billions of audience. But why people buy Nike versus mine? Because Nike has a brand, they make you feel just do it, the freedom. I'm not there. So it gotta be differentiated, I would recommend. So value-added differentiation. Third is you have to unlock some business growth for the brand. Because I work with a lot of so-called innovation project, either reaching the young audience or new touch point. If you don't drive growth, you lost interest with your stakeholders, your management team, the investor, because you're not driving anything, and there's no value to you as well. So a lot of time, I try to keep it simple. You got to do 3 things together to reach a younger audience. And one thing is worth checking out if anybody interested, or the audience interested. It's 2 years old. Mucinex, which a cough, medication by Racket, and it was 2020 or 3 years ago. 2020, same question: how can I reach the Gen Z? Because I have no relationship with them. If you go on Amazon, Walmart, or their own site, all the copy description about the brand is very medical. Medical is equated, not like wellness, in that orientation. So we go through some innovation sprint. In 4 months, we decided to engage this audience. They care about your science behind your brand, because like Mucinex is known for like the science behind the brand. And also, not only we find an insight that Gen Z care about, like how you make them feel. So then we designed a called Sigwear, which is a capsule collection, unisex collection, like from hoodies to jumpsuit, the whole nine. The whole point is about its brand differentiators. Mucinex make you feel better internally, but the Sigwear make you feel designed with science in mind. Make you feel better when you're wearing it. Like for example, there's an eye, blind shutter building in the hoodie, the tissue pocket and in the jumpsuit, right? And that zipper, you can, if you need to go to the bathroom, do whatever you need to do. That's very easy action. So that whole thing, and then and after we designed the product and say how you reach them, so we decided to do a live streaming, YouTube live. This is before even TikTok. It's that popular. YouTube live with 6 influencer live streaming fashion show. So, we have 17,000 people tuning in. All the capsule collections sold out within hours. Mucinex Sigwear, that campaign actually earned them earned media 90 million impression. And so that they are success story, how you reach those audience, even from, a brand you may not think can create that kind of relevancy and that kind of excitement. So check out wearebarbarian.com, if you're interested. But I just want to share an example about how you could reach on audience without the traditional thinking, like printing an ad, do a TV commercial, or do a digital marketing campaign or email campaign. Look at like a live fashion show, crazy enough to do that.
But it's possible now. That's what's crazy, and it was consumed. Are there, as we kind of get to the end here, almost, what are you most excited about? What are you pumped about for, I don't know, Q4 the coming year? Is there anything that's got you the most pumped up?
Yeah, I see. Very interesting. I think most pumped out is I see the duality. The came back with the duality of our brand building and performance. I use performance a little loosely, but including e-commerce, right? How you make all your marketing effort to convert, right? Because I have not seen a lot of brands can do both well. The one do well, they're a great company. So I always talk about, you probably heard about from the press, a lot of media spend. They all talk about how successful they acquire customers and all the way to performance. So I see that you need to think about how you converge or make sure you're integrated, thinking about the communication and commerce. Right? If not, you do a bang up job like getting attention, but like you don't even have a cohesive or fictional ecosystem to convert, right? So I'm excited about that. I see more and more innovation from our partners, from one of those leading marketing tech, like from Feedonomics, Big Commerce. You see a lot of new thinking from Shopify, even, right? They go and you see a lot of innovation around there. I think that's exciting for me. Like you see more and more because the market dynamic and the consumer behavior driving that demand, right? You have to do it. But one thing I always want to talk about, the last bit is I always talk about communication commerce. I want to advocate that the best company know how to do all three very well. Communication commerce and CRM, customer relationship. I heard so much people talk about the customer acquisition. Think about the best brand, they focus on their members. People they keep it. Nike, American Express, right? Apple, Amazon. That's a science to it. They know how to keep their customer. They invest. And go back to adding value. So Nike is known for it. Like, I don't need to advertise to you. Probably read all the trade, one of the VP of marketing or CMO, one pattern. I don't need to advertise to my members. They call them members for a reason, not customers. Because once you join my ecosystem, we will not leave because our ecosystem adding value to you, right? The Nike Plus with this and that, like all the tools connected, the ecosystem connected. Kind of somewhat similar to Apple. Once you enter the ecosystem, you got the watch, you got the phone, you got the laptop,
Yeah, you can't get out.
Yeah. So sorry, long.
No, this has been an awesome conversation, and thank you for your time today and for sharing with the audience. It's awesome, like hearing your backstory and how you got there, because we're in such a unique spot, and the leaders got there in unique ways. And so, you also have a Social Barbarians podcast. Is that correct?
Yeah, socialbarbarians.com is a podcast. We interview basically all the thought leaders from brands, martech companies, the whole. We targeting all the leaders within the ecosystem, like from martech to brand.
Yeah.
So we interview a lot of people, join us, and we publish it almost every week on Wednesday.
Awesome. So I encourage everybody to check that out. Again, Steven, thanks for your time today. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of Digital Deep Dive. Thanks everybody for listening in.